People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in. Quick video before I go off to sadly earn a living. I say sadly because, like you lot, there's a bunch of things I'd rather be doing than going to work. And to be honest, this year I really want to marry my passion and the need to earn a living to stay afloat and just stay alive like everybody else, really. Because don't get me wrong, I don't mind my role, but yeah, it's not quite football. And what I mean by that is, let's be honest, if when we all wake up in the morning, could we do with a little more sleep? Could we potentially do with not going? Yes, and that answers a lot of my questions. But thought I would provide a little quick vid, man. Now, in relation to the young players that went out on loan, obviously give me a bit of time. I've watched Tyrese John-Jules' game against Portsmouth. I don't have time to review this. I've had a mate watch Saliba against Monaco, and I'm going to try and watch my own thing, but he was very positive in relation to Saliba against Monaco. Obviously, Emile-Smith-Rowe against Hull got another start. He got a start against Brentford. That's what he went on loan for. Obviously, Oli Inca, I'm not too sure when his next game for Northampton is, but him and Ben Chafe are on loans at Doncaster and Northampton Town in League 1 and 2, respectively, people. In relation to Saliba, he played the full 90 minutes. He won 8 of his 10 duels. He made 5 clearances, and obviously they kept a clean sheet. Saint Etienne are now unbeaten in every game that Saliba's played, which is 9 matches, 3 draws, 6 wins, crucially 6 clean sheets. Now he's coming back from his injury and whatnot, and while he's been out, there's been a lot of, you see the images. He'll be at the Arsenal for I don't know if it's light training, just assessing his injury, whatever. He's been in constant dialogue, and for me, he's an incredible prospect. He gets better with every game. What we need to do is, like Martinelli and Saka and these players, not get gassed off the players we see tomorrow in them, and it's hard not to. I think all them players have got terrific potential, but we need to recognise where they are currently. Like Saliba, in French football, it seems like you get a lot of time on the ball, and you do in some English games, but there are some harsh lessons he will have to learn through being a teenager in his second full season as a professional footballer. I expect him to have good games and show his quality, but you get it. And his teammate Fofana, with Saint Etienne, I don't know what is in the water in Saint Etienne, but they keep bringing through these academy players. There's a couple dotted around their side. Fofana, another defender, a young teenage defender, he probably gets a move. He's been linked with us before, he's been linked with AC Milan, so we'll see what happens. But Saliba, the main thing we can hope for is that he gets some more experience playing in that division. He gets confidence and whatnot through being more experienced, and obviously gets over his injury and he stays fit, and there's no reoccurring theme of that, people. So good luck to Saliba, man. What was I going to say? On Emile-Smith-Rowe, he got 86 minutes. He got 86 minutes against Hull. Obviously Tyrese John-Jules against Portsmouth got 90. And to be honest, Saliba, man, with how we've been in defence, you'd be imagining, can't we bring him back? Apparently he attempted 26 passes. His pass accuracy stays at 72%. He won 3 tackles. He made an interception. He made 5 clearances, 1 block. So again, it's difficult to see these things without context, but he did alright against Monaco. I'm going to try and pre the game and the highlights myself, but based on what my friend told me, he said he was very composed on the ball. He dealt with any threats. He said his marking was very good. Again, I'm putting my trust in people to relay me accurate information like football clubs do with scouts, but I trust my friend's opinion. So it's nice to see our young players are out on loan, are going and getting football. It's nice to see that players here are getting football, young G's. The Pablo Mari to Arsenal stuff is back again. Arsenal, in true Arsenal fan fashion, we have tracked a British Airways flight from Brazil. Apparently it's to land at noon really. So yeah, so that backs up claims from several Brazilian outlets primarily, which are reporting that Pablo Mari has flown back to the UK. Let's hope this can put an end to the saga. I can't verify this, so don't shoot the shepherd, and I can't understand Portuguese. But I'm not too sure if his new club announced a defender, because I was browsing on their social media, but admittedly I can't read Portuguese, so it might not be a new signing, people. But I'm pretty sure they signed someone, a defender. So that could, if we read between the lines, that could be the replacement, 1 in, 1 out. But I can't verify that because the tweet was in Portuguese and I don't really understand what he was saying. So it is, well, it is in that regards, people. Away from that, people, you've actually heard, apparently technical director Edu had several direct conversations on signing Bruno Guimaraes before the Brazilian opted for Lyon. That is being reported by Julien Laurens, who is a French-based, you know, journalist and whatnot, and does a lot of things with French media. Again, conversations are just conversations. If official bids or official, you know, trying to bring him to the club happen, you've got to wonder why he picked Lyon. Obviously, Lyon's a club where you can develop away from a lot of scrutiny and things, and they've got a good track record with developing players. But if we were legitimately interested, you've got to wonder what made him pick Lyon over Arsenal if it was just these two teams, because you heard Atletico, you heard all these teams. Does he want to make that first move to Europe, develop, build himself up, and then join a, no disrespect, a more reputable team or whatnot? Because Lyon's a big club, but they're not Lyon. You know, I go back to my early days in primary school, beginning of secondary. I remember Lyon was the top team in France, and obviously through money they've been blitzed. So you get the point. And it does kind of raise question marks over Edu, because if you did fail to bring my man in, what happened there? You're hearing that Arteta was the one who vetoed bringing in Kozawa, even though Edu wanted to do that. We'll never know who's in charge of what, but yeah, man. Away from that as well, people, I forgot to mention it, or I'm not sure if I've mentioned it in a previous vid, but during the during the winter break that every Premier League gets next month, we will be travelling to Dubai. Now, did we not go to Dubai last year for some warm weather training? And Amici, Saka, John Jules, couple young players got to go, and I hope that's the case this year. I think there's a couple of young players that deserve it. I'd love to see Ben Cottrell get to go with the first team, for example. But we're travelling there for some warm weather training. Obviously, our sponsors are Fly Emirates, and we're going to Dubai. There's obviously some marketing potential, marketing reasons behind that destination, but it'd be nice for the players, man. And for me, I might be looking at it too deep, but especially the young players. I look at players and I think if you weren't playing football, football is an avenue to see the world, because some of these young G's, let's take a Iwobi. If Iwobi was just a standard Londoner, would he have got to see Australia, China, Dubai, all of these countries through playing football? And I think football, people really underestimate how football allows you to broaden your horizons. Because let's say the young players, if the young players travel just to make up numbers, it might not be that they might not make it at Arsenal or whatnot. But through football, they've got to travel the world and see things beyond what they might have seen. And maybe I'm looking at it too deeply as I am, but just away from sporting matters, I like to see that sort of stuff, man. So it is what it is. I'm going to do a quick little browse and see if there's any more stuff. Apparently, a Brazilian-based journalist publication, Globo Esporte, said Pablo Mari did gym work with the rest of his teammates today as negotiations between Flamengo and Arsenal continue. Arsenal are expected to make a revived offer imminently. This was 8 hours ago. It's now 7:55 UK time. For context, anybody that would like any context. Can't we just go and bring what's his name to the club, man? Grealish, man. He had a decent game yesterday. I know I've said this in a previous video, people, but Mustafi's injury, we still have to wait for the full diagnosis after 48 hours. But apparently it's just a sprain rather than anything more severe, and we're just waiting for swelling to subside. So that's good for anybody, man, because we're down to our last bones, regardless of what you think about Mustafi in our defence. It's completely irrelevant from Arsenal per se, but what's his face is I heard Spurs are linked with Giroud. They've made an inquiry now. Giroud, boy, if you want to do that, because you don't owe Arsenal nothing, but it wouldn't be a good look here. You're kind of bordering on William Gallas territory, really. It's a Jezzy, really and truly a Jezebel, really. Like, you've played for Arsenal, you played for Spurs, and you played for Chelsea. Like, again, don't get me wrong, that's a good career to have, but you're a bit, you know, you might as well play for West Ham and Crystal Palace and all the other London teams. Might as well play for Brentford and you might as well just complete the West London. I know Chelsea's in South West, but you might as well, because he's played for all of them, Gallas example, you might as well go play for QPR and Brentford and all them other teams up there as well. You might as well play for all the London teams. Now, Giroud, listen, if he joins Spurs, he joins Spurs. I can see why they're linked with him, but it wouldn't make sense. Apparently, they've offered him a 1.5 year contract, so we'll see, man. As we approach the end of the window, there's a lot of things. You're hearing Bruno Fernandes to United. Obviously, Arsenal seem to be, you know, is this guy coming? Is he not? Are we signing a Ukrainian centre-half? No, it's going to be Spanish that plays in Brazil. Apologies if I've said he's Brazilian at any point mistakenly, people, but there's nothing more to say. I'm going to get out of here. So yeah, thank you for listening to my talking points. You know I'm going to hit you back with more content when I can. Just bear with me. Pretty sure you haven't been able to keep up with the work rate. So in the meantime, go and check out some of my videos you haven't seen. Would love to hear your comments. Make sure the subscription bell is on, the notification bell, whatever they call it. Link to all my socials are in the description. Make sure you're rocking with me on that. And finally, people, for all your consistent support, like I say each and every time, it means the world. From the bottom of my heart, I'd just like to simply say thank you. People, I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Deluded, I'm out.